So, about a year ago, I got diagnosed with leukemia a couple of weeks before my 17th marriage anniversary. I had been suffering for quite a while, and it came as a huge shock because I thought that I had a healthy lifestyle. But unfortunately, that didn't make a difference in the end. The past 1 year has just been me in and out of hospitals, constantly trying to fight against the odds and make it until the end. It's been difficult, and I thought that having my husband by my side was going to make it all easier. But after what happened recently, I don't know anymore. I'm 42 right now, my husband's 43, and we've been friends since we were in high school. Back in high school, we were nothing more than friends. But since we ended up in the same college, we started to get closer, and by the third semester, we were dating. At 24, I got married to him, and since then, we've been together. We don't have any children. That's the way we wanted it, and right now, I'm pretty grateful for it because whatever's going on between us, and especially with me, nobody else is going to have to suffer for it. Because even after being together for 18 years, I have half a mind to leave him at the moment because of something that he said to his friends. Now, after 18 years of marriage, people might think that I'm overreacting, but I don't know. Basically, we ended up hosting a wedding anniversary party because I don't know how many of those I have left to celebrate. So we invited a couple of people over, our families, our friends, a few co-workers. We had a nice time, and eventually people left. But his friends stayed back. I decided to get some rest because I had been pretty exhausted, and they continued to chat in the living room. Unfortunately for my husband, about an hour after I had retreated into my room, I decided to come out because I was feeling kind of hungry. And that's when I overheard what they were discussing. And it made me feel really horrible. I guess they thought I was napping or something because I could hear them talking about me. And the second I realized that, I decided to stop and listen to the conversation because I wanted to know what was going on. I was just out of sight in the passage leading from my room to the living room. I could hear them pretty clearly. I could hear his friends saying that he was very brave for staying with me and taking care of me in this state, appreciating him for everything that he was trying to do for me. Some of them were trying to make light of the situation, claiming that they would never be able to do this if their wives started to lose their hair, started to look so emaciated all the time, and became so sick that they could barely do anything for themselves and needed to rely on people all the time. I found that quite offensive, not just to myself, but also to their wives. And I thought that my husband would disagree, but instead he laughed along with them, and that was a shock. Then what he went on to say, that was an even bigger shock for me, because he started telling his friends that he was just waiting for me to pass on and spare him, since he didn't want to abandon me right now and end up giving everyone the impression that he was some sort of heartless, cruel person who left his wife when she needed him the most. Then he started discussing all the plans that he had for having fun after I was gone, which he said he thought was going to happen pretty soon, or at least he was hoping it would. And him and his friends laughed once again as if they were talking about something very funny and not about my demise. I was literally numb. I couldn't even bring myself to move, so I just froze there, and I ended up listening to the rest of the conversation, and I regret it so much. He started to talk about all the attractive women he had been getting attention from after my diagnosis, saying that people had started to sympathize with him, and that he had a couple of ideas about how he would capitalize on it after I was gone, and use this sympathy in his favor. He even referred to a couple of people who we went to high school and college with, saying that these women had reached out to him, and a couple of them were pretty hot divorcees that he would love to get to know better. I think you guys can understand the rest of the conversation that went on, and I just quietly went back into my room and shut the door before I started to pack my things. I was crying all that while, but I was trying my best to be silent because I did not want to give his friends the satisfaction of hearing me sob or fight. Anyway, half an hour after that, I finally heard his friends leaving, and a couple of minutes later he came into the room, all smiles, as if he hadn't been discussing what he was going to do after I was gone, and how happy he would be then with his friends just a few minutes ago. But I was not buying it. I was seated on my bed, quietly, with a packed bag beside me. And as soon as he saw that, his face fell. He started to look confused, but I think even he had figured out that I must have heard what he was talking about. He started to ask me what was wrong, if I was upset with him for something, whatever. And I did not mince my words. I told him exactly what I had heard. I told him that I needed to leave. I also told him that he did not need to worry about me anymore, and that if it was such a tough job to look after me and care for me whenever I was in this state, then he did not need to do it anymore. I told him that I was freeing him. I was now going back to my parents to stay with them, and he could hook up with whoever he wanted to now. He tried really hard to pass it all off as a joke. And he started telling me that he was just making the situation lighter, trying to convince his friends that he was completely fine, and they were also just joking. He tried to tell me that I was just taking this way too hard, that he didn't mean any of the things that he had said, and that after 18 years of being together I should know that about him. And yes, granted, he's always been one of those funny people who makes a lot of jokes, but this did not seem like a joke. He was laughing, but it was not funny. And if you can laugh at my expense, at the expense of my illness and my misery, do you even love me? That's the only thing that was going on in my mind. So even though he tried to beg me to stay, I decided to leave. And since then, I've been staying with my parents, who have told me that I can stay with them as long as I want to. And they agree that the things that have been said were not acceptable. The problem right now is that my husband is apologizing, but for the wrong thing. He's apologizing about the fact that I felt bad, not for the fact that he said it. And to a lot of people it might seem like the same thing. To a lot of people it might seem like I'm making a big deal out of nothing and I'm being oversensitive, but I don't know. I feel like he should just feel sorry that he even said these things at all in the first place. Instead, the only thing that he's been repeating over and over again like a parrot is that he's sorry that I felt bad. But at the end of the day, it was all just a joke, and that I need to stop acting like this because I'm basically throwing away 18 years of our marriage over a couple of stupid jokes that he admits he made in bad taste. But at the end of the day, that's just what it is, a joke. I don't agree with any part of it, and he's been trying to pass it all off as nothing at all, as if I'm the weird one for feeling bad, and I have seriously started to have second thoughts about my reaction. I feel like I'm going insane. I can't even talk about any of this to anybody else because it's so personal and embarrassing. So here I am asking AITA for being offended at my husband's jokes about what he plans to do after I'm gone. Update 1. Hey, so it's been a week since my last update. I'm still living with my parents, so clearly things have not improved on the marriage front. In fact, I would say that they've even gotten worse, because after posting here, I decided that I had nothing to feel sorry about, since everybody in the comments had the same thing to say. That I'm not overreacting, and that whatever joke he was making was just horrible. And that just convinced me further that I was doing the right thing by choosing to stay away from him and contemplating divorce right now. Because honestly, I'm really not sure of how much time I have left here, and I want to spend it with people who actually love me, who actually value me, and I know that we have been married for 18 years, he doesn't need to keep reminding me of it. He needs to remind himself of the fact that he's been with me for 18 years. And what did our wedding vows say? In sickness and in health, right? So if he doesn't feel comfortable with being by my side during my sickness, then I don't think that we should remain married anymore. Because there is no point in waiting. There's no point in making him uncomfortable and making him wait around for me to pass, since he clearly thinks I'm unattractive, that I'm disgusting, and that he doesn't want to take care of me anymore. Even if I try and believe his claims of all of it being a joke and nothing else, jokes still come from a place of reality. Why would he say those things if he didn't think of those things? I had no idea that he was this bitter about our life together. If I knew, then I would have left him as soon as I learned about my diagnosis. I wouldn't have put him through any of this, but I thought that he really wanted to be with me, which is why I was so grateful to him for taking care of me so well and being such a good husband. Now, though, I learned my lesson, and I'm leaving him alone. Shouldn't he be happy now? I don't understand why he's making me feel guilty for wanting to leave right now. After all, I'm doing him a favor here. It's going to hurt me, but I'm still planning on going through with it. And yet he has taken it upon himself to make me feel as guilty as he possibly can, and has been going out of his way to make the situation worse than before. It's been taking a toll on my mental health, and right now that's the last thing that I need given my condition. A couple of days ago, because he had been calling me and texting me non-stop for almost an hour, I decided to finally respond to him. He knew exactly where I was, so if he really wanted to talk to me, he would have come over and spoken himself. But he wasn't doing that, so he decided to restrict himself to calls and messages, knowing that I'm not that kind of person who can express myself well on these platforms. But whatever, at one point I decided to finally answer his call, and when I did, I told him I was thinking about getting a divorce, and he could let me know if that's what he wanted or not, because according to him, I didn't have that much time left, and even if I did, he clearly doesn't want to spend it with me. And after everything that has happened, after everything that I have had to hear, I don't want to put him through any of that either. So no matter how much time I have left, I think it would be a good idea to file for divorce. But even then, I was giving him the option to think about it, because at the end of the day, he would also have to pay for a lawyer. And if he thinks that it's avoidable, then we can just live separately until I'm gone. It's totally his call. And I made it very clear to him that I was not making an emotional decision. It was just a practical thing to do, because I did not want him to suffer anymore on my account. I thought that he would respond to this well, that he would finally be relieved, but instead he started to tell me I was being crazy and that I was being irrational, and instead of acting like a normal person, I was taking this way too hard, and that instead of understanding his jokes and sense of humor, I was trying to make him look like a bad guy for no reason at all. He was furious with me, and he started guilt-tripping me to the best of his abilities. He started to remind me of how well he had taken care of me in the past couple of months after my diagnosis, of how he had been with me for 18 years, and he started talking about literally every little thing that he had done for me for our marriage, and I honestly didn't know what to say to that, because it felt like he was bringing all of it up now that to show me that he had done me a favor by being with me, which was shocking, because I thought that we were doing things for each other because we loved each other, and we were married to one another because we wanted to be around each other. I didn't know that he was keeping track of these things, and that just made me feel worse. Anyway, after he was done, I just told him that since he had kept track of so many things, I felt obligated to tell him that, even though I hadn't kept track of it. I knew for a fact that I had done just as many things for him out of love that he had done for me. So in this case, we were equal. And the only difference was that I hadn't been able to take care of him the way he had of me in the past year. That was simply because I was lucky enough not to have the opportunity to do so, since he was perfectly fit and fine. But I know it was difficult for him to accept that his partner was sick. And he clearly did not want to be around me anymore. He did not find it an easy job to do, because otherwise he wouldn't have brought it up like this. So that's exactly why I was setting him free, so that he could live his life the way he wanted to without me holding him back. And if he wanted me to do anything else for him, I was ready to do that as well. I just did not want to owe him anything, because that's exactly how he was making me feel. When I said that, he started to tell me that that was not his intention, and that he was just trying to let me know that he did not mind doing things for me, that he liked to take care of me because I was his wife, and that he loved me, and that's why he was with me. And that was apparently why he had brought up a list of everything that he had done for me, because he wanted me to know that in these 18 years he had done his best, and I did not need to throw away all of that over just one stupid joke. But that's not how it felt at all. I guess maybe I've misunderstood him or something. I have never really understood him at all. Whatever the case is, that conversation did not end on a good note. We just kept talking in circles, and after a point I decided to hang up on him, because I knew there was no getting through to him. I haven't blocked him yet. I don't know why. I guess I'm still waiting for some sort of miracle. But whatever. He's kept trying to get through to me. He kept trying to guilt me into coming back, and he made me feel like the bad guy here every time he says anything at all in his messages. So it's been quite difficult for me. But I have been able to make up my mind now. I'm going to file for divorce. I think I've had enough, and regardless of whether I'm going to be alive for a long time or for a short time, I want to be happy for that time. And I know that I wouldn't be able to do so if I decide to stay with him, because whatever I have overheard, it's just going to keep coming up to the surface in my brain every time I try to forgive him. So, what's the point of trying to make it work like this? Whatever time I have, I want to put it to better use. Update 2. Hey, it's been a couple of days and I've spoken to a lawyer, and today we decided to file for a divorce. It was a tough decision to come to. I had to make up my mind and really be determined, because I kept having second thoughts. But in the end, I decided that if it was time, it was time. Besides, 18 years is a long time, but it's not the end of the world. Yeah, it sucks. I can't do anything about it, but I don't want to be with a man who does not value me, who thinks it's okay to make jokes like that about his sick wife, and thinks that it's perfectly acceptable to blame her for getting offended at that. I thought I knew the man that I was married to. I thought I was respected and loved, but clearly that's not the case right now, or maybe it never had been that way in the first place. And it was just the fact that I had never really heard him speaking this way with his male friends. Because it's not possible that this is the first time they're having a discussion like this. They might have degraded our relationship many times before, because he hangs out with them a lot. I'm pretty sure that they speak this way about the rest of their wives as well. They don't respect these women. And no matter how my husband and his friends act in front of me, it's clearly a very different scenario when I'm not around, and when their wives are not around. I know that my husband would say that how he behaves with me is how he really is, and that with his friends he just jokes around and he doesn't mean any of it, and it's all harmless. But think about it. That's still a part of him, right? The jokes that we make, the thoughts that we have, the things that we say, regardless of whether we mean it or not, it's still a part of us, because it came out of our brains. I don't know if I'm making sense or not. I'm trying my best to put it into words as well as I can, but Here's what I'm trying to say, basically. He cannot excuse himself by saying that it was, oh, just a joke, because if I were in his place and I really loved him, then it would never even occur to me to make a joke like this. In any sort of relationship, people say that sometimes we have to accept the bad with the good. But that also means that the bad comes along with the good. The bad parts are also part of him, and if it was something more tolerable, I definitely would have accepted it. He does have his own flaws, but this is not a flaw. I think this is a moral failure on his part, and I'm done with it. I don't have to put up with it, and I hope that he and his friends take this as a lesson. So, yeah, I filed for divorce now, and I feel much better than how I was previously. Update 3. Hi. So, he was finally served today, and like I had expected, he did not take it well at all. So far, because I had been staying with my parents, he had left me alone. He had only tried to get through to me via phone calls and messages and emails occasionally. But today he decided to show up at my house. When he realized that I was not going to respond to any of his phone calls or messages. I mean, it took him long enough, but it's too late now. When he showed up and my parents told me about it, I told him that they shouldn't bother with him and that they shouldn't let him in, so that's exactly what they did. But he was not ready to leave. He started banging on the door, yelling at me to calm down and speak to him from outside the door. Just being totally out of control. And if I'm being honest, I was kind of scared because he was being very aggressive and it was not like him to act like that. After a while, the neighbors started to call my parents and complain about his behavior. So I decided that it was about time I asked him to leave. Until then, I had been ignoring him, hoping that he would go away on his own. But then I decided to go down to the living room, and from the opposite side of the door, I told him that I was not willing to talk to him, that I really wanted him to leave, and I was exhausted from everything that had happened. So I really wanted him to go away, and I meant it because as it is, it's not like I'm in the pink of my health on top of that. If he's going to create trouble for me like this, then he's probably going to end up shortening my lifespan even more. So I said that if he cares for me at all, then he should just leave me alone. Of course, he didn't leave me alone. He decided to stay on, and after a point, he was yelling so much and creating such a racket that even other people from the neighborhood started to get involved. They started to come out and tell him to leave. They even threatened to call the police, and he didn't care. So after a while, I decided to go out myself and spoke to him. And I tried to explain to him that I was really done with him and that I did not want to drag this out and create a scene. And that standing outside my parents' house and yelling at me was not going to help this case. It's just going to make me even more sure that I was making the right choice, because clearly, if he cared about me, if he truly genuinely wanted what was best for me, then he would just leave me alone. At that point, I was honestly genuinely so sick of everything that I was on the verge of tears, and I thought that at least that would move him enough to get him to leave, but even that didn't. He was very angry. He kept telling me that he was not leaving until I changed my mind about the divorce, and he was not going to let this go. He was adamant. So after a while, I just lost my cool, and I told him that if he didn't leave me alone, then I would be calling the cops and I would be filing for a restraining order because he was really bothering me now, and he was just making a fool out of himself. He was also making a fool out of me and my family in front of the entire neighborhood. He still kept arguing with me. And then I called out to my dad and told him to start calling the cops because clearly he was not going to be persuaded like this. At that point, when I said that, he finally realized I was serious because my father had taken out his phone and he was about to make the call. And that's when he started cursing me out. He started to tell me that he had wasted his life after me, that I was a crazy, irrational person, and I should have felt grateful that he was fighting so hard for me after everything I had put him through over some stupid joke. And after cursing me out for a bit, he finally left. After that, I finally felt a bit relieved, and now I'm pretty sure that I'm making the right choice. I want to be away from all of this. I want to be on my own, and even if it hurts right now, I know that in a couple of months I will probably be grateful. Update 4. So, hi, it's been 3 years since my last update, and to be honest, after my last update, things became kind of tough for me. It was not just the divorce, it was also my health that was deteriorating for a while. It was an extremely difficult phase of my life, and I'm very thankful to God that He got me through it. The divorce was finalized in a year, and it was not a good one. And I don't even want to talk about it. The bottom line is that I don't speak anymore. And he actually ended up hooking up with one of my friends from college during the course of our divorce. And I found out about it through a few other friends because apparently this woman had been talking about it and bragging on it while also bad-mouthing me. Nobody believed that. People were on my side, and I'm very grateful for that as well. At the end of the day, it's always the truth that prevails. So yeah, thankfully, I'm doing better now. I've been in remission for the past couple of months. I'm doing better now, and I'm trying to build my life back up. Thankfully, I have a lot of support from my parents, from my friends, and everybody who wishes well for me. I'm doing well for myself. I'm trying to forget everything that has happened in the past, and I think I'm succeeding. I'm healing from everything, and I know that a lot of people over the years have tried to contact me here, and it's very touching. Even strangers have shown me so much care. I'm thankful for you guys as well, and I'm very lucky to have such a strong support system. Stay tuned for more stories from our girl relationships.